Liberian President George Weah has pledged to fight corruption. George Weah says he's inherited a country that's been depleted by political malfeasance, but this will change. The Liberian leader has also prioritized education. He was speaking in France on his first trip abroad as president. George Weah is seeking to strengthen Liberia's bilateral ties with France and is due to meet a French President Emmanuel Macron later on Wednesday. And Kevin Ozbek is keeping tabs on the Liberian leader's visit to France, and he's now joining me with more details from Paris. Kevin, what do we know about the meeting between President Weah and his French counterpart later today?
Well, it's going to be a pretty brief one. The two presidents will be having lunch together. And of course, if you know the backstory of the new president of Liberia, it's pretty clear that these two presidents will not just be talking about politics, but sports will also be brought up as well. For those of you who don't know, President Weah was a football star in Europe back in the 90s. He played at clubs, including ones in Monaco and one even here in Paris. So I'm sure that will be discussed. On the political front, though, what's also likely to be talked about over this working lunch is President Emmanuel Macron's plans and his vision for what he wants to see as France's relationship, a changing relationship with the African continent. One of his goals of his presidency is to get rid of that old image of France being a colonial power on the continent. Instead, he wants to have a new era of new engagement with his African allies. Now, Liberia typically looks towards the U.S. because of its history. It was founded by freed black American slaves, but it's a country surrounded by French-speaking African countries, so President Macron likely will be looking to build up his African alliance.
Well, another big story coming out of France today, Kevin, is that President Macron's proposal to toughen France's immigration and asylum laws. So what does this entail, and how is that being viewed in France?
Well, it's pretty polarizing, pretty splitting the public here. The majority of French people, more than 60% in the latest poll, think there are too many migrants here in the country. So President Macron has vowed to try to tackle this. Well, according to this proposal that's being put forth to the French cabinet today, and then will still have to be debated in both the lower and upper houses of parliament, one thing that this wants to do, this proposal, is to shorten by about 5 months the amount of time it takes for an asylum seeker to have his or her paperwork processed. That takes about 11 months now. Under this proposal, the aim is to shorten that time to 6 months. Critics say that all this will do is help accelerate the speed at which these proposals will be denied by the government. Now, people who lean right say this proposal is too soft, it's not hard enough, and they want stricter immigration reform. So President Macron trying to politically here unite everyone around this proposal. As of right now, it doesn't look like it's going to do that. We'll see if the General Assembly here ends up turning this into a law.
Kevin Ozbek in Paris. South Africa.